for preview brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul. Paul, yes, the guy behind DrivingMaul, that's who I am. Thank you very much for joining us. And don't forget, we are here at 8 p.m. every Thursday night with your previews, and also Mondays at 8 p.m. reviewing the round. So do join us on that show as well. Hit the subscribe button down below and the bell so you don't miss any of the shows. Joining me this evening to go through all of the action, or well, actually go through all the team sheets is, oh dearie me, Paul, what are you doing? Is Stephen Harris. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very good, thank you, Paul. Once again, a privilege and a pleasure to be on the TDM, and this time not talking post-Super Rugby, but pre-Super Rugby.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we've switched you around. I had Shane on Monday and you on Thursday, so I switched around the host or the guests. Yeah, we'll be back to semi-normal next week, I think. But anyway, we kick off the weekend with the Battle of the South Island, Crusaders versus the Highlanders. A pretty settled Crusaders side, as you expect. But some injuries to Scott Barrett and Ollie Jaeger mean that we do have some changes in the pack. The pack is Moody, Taylor, Alalatoa, Romano, Dunshay in the engine room, Grace, Christie and Saunders are the Lucies, Paul Mwanga running the show, Gucci and Eno in the centres, and Bridge, Reese and Havili in the backs, with Makaleo, Tungapasi, Bauer, Ethan Roots, who I'm asking you about, Simone Havili, Drummond, Cameron and Whanganauku, Leicester that is. Yeah, Luca Romano in the engine room. I don't think he even started the game all last year. Can he last 80?
Oh, you'd pretty much think he can. I mean, to say I'll tell you what, when he does come on, he's you've got to say very, very effective when he does come off the bench. I'm just sort of looking through the rest of the Crusaders reserves. Obviously, with Ethan Roots on the reserve bench, probably not a lot of cover there. I would imagine probably the likes of Callum Grace, who's played lock for the New Zealand 20s, will probably slot into that position if needed, Paul.
So it's they're a bit thin in the locking department. We're seeing that in quite a few sides, aren't we, this season, where we're seeing lots of sixers covering in the locks, or your lock comes six. So it does seem to be a trend we're seeing this season. I don't know if it's just, obviously having players like Whitelock and Retallick on sabbatical doesn't help. But yeah, there does seem to be definitely a lack of locks at the moment. But a solid side. The one area that I thought that had some question marks over coming into the season was that loose trio, because they don't really have the experience that they had. Well, none of them were starters last year in Grace, Christie and Saunders, but they've been standing up well, haven't they?
You know, here's a case of three guys given the opportunity to start, and all of a sudden they've decided, listen, we're going to cement these places down, because you're sort of looking, there's no Douglas there. Or is Douglas injured at the moment, Paul?
I'm having a quick. Feta Douglas isn't there, is he? He's not been mentioned in the dispatches, so I don't know if he's injured or not.
You know, the guy that's really surprised me the most, dare I say, is Christie, because he's always sort of struck me as a okay sort of Mitre 10 Cup player. But man alive, from what I believe, he leads all the tackling stats. And Callum Grace is a new boy to us, and he's surprised me as well. Listen, just got to excuse my listeners. The kettle's just boiling at the moment, so I'm just going to grab the cup of tea, Paul. So I'll be back shortly.
All good. So moving on to the Highlanders, looking at them, we've got Johnston, Coltman, Tokalahi in the front row, Jesse Parity and Josh Dixon in the engine room, Frizzell, Lenchis and Mikelea Tu'u in the Lucies, Smith and Hunt to run the show. They're continuing with Josh Ioane at 12 and Rob Thompson at 13. A back three of Nariki, Chris Kurandrani, and Michael Collins. Also a switch to a 5-3 bench in Ash Dixon, Daniel Leonard Brown O'Donnell, Jack Wetton, Tariki Ben Nicholas, and then Hamilton, Walden, and Josh Mackay on the bench there. So a change to a 5-3 bench rather than a 6-2. And also with I've gone blank as the player who was unavailable because he got banned. But that means that Chris Kurandrani gets gets his first start for the Highlanders. Interesting to see how he's going to go.
Yeah, I don't know if they lose a lot there with Kundrani, because I've always been impressed. Listen, even in the Counties Manukau team last year, I was very impressed with Chris Kurandrani. I don't know if they'll miss Seal Tompkinson. Obviously, Tompkinson with his defence, maybe something he has to think about how he tackles Paul, but I don't know if they'll lose a hell of a lot there. In fact, I think they'll probably gain a little bit more in attack. I see they've sort of tweaked things a little bit with Michael Collins at the back as well. So maybe they're looking to the Highlanders are looking maybe to kick a little bit more. I'd say I'm still not convinced about having Ioane at second five though, Paul. That one bugs me no end.
Absolutely. Tompkinson on the wing and Ioane at 10. That really, at 12, really annoyed me. At least they've got a winger on the wing now, which is good. As you say, I don't think they'll lose that much because of the positional thing. But yeah, still, I don't like Josh Ioane at 12. I think it's going to be a long night for the Highlanders. Sure, they got up over the Brumbies last weekend by a solitary point, but the Crusaders in Christchurch, a totally different prospect. I've gone Crusaders by 10. What's your kind of prediction?
Yeah, I'm thinking there or thereabout. Being a local Southern derby, that the Highlanders will throw everything at this Crusaders side. The Crusaders, I mean to say, their backline looks pretty damn incredible, doesn't it? I mean to say, Braden Enor in the midfield. He didn't get a lot of touches last week, but what he did, he made 16 tackles, Paul, and I've got to say, their midfield defence, him and Goodhue, looked quite they didn't even look, they looked impenetrable, didn't they, throughout that game against the Blues, and with those two All Black wingers, and in fact the All Black back three. Yeah, I don't know. The Crusaders will have to be totally off their game. And one thing the Crusaders, and it's good. It's actually really good to see, because we saw it in the Hurricanes game. It's actually good to see another team having a crack at opposition ball. And to me, that was sort of like the highlight of last weekend, Paul. So they won't be shy in attacking your line out.
No, they won't. Michael Collins, obviously, as someone said, is solid 15. He is a very dependable player back there, but not as attacking with ball in hand as Josh Mackay. So Crusaders win there. We then head over the Tasman for the Rebels versus the Sharks. Now, Australian sides currently 0-6 against overseas opposition, including the Rebels losing to the Sunwolves in the opening round. Looking at the Rebels side, so Gibbon, Misa, Ainsley, Haylett Petty, Phillip in the engine room, Wells, Hardwick, and Nazarani at your back row. Lawrence and Deegan are the 9-10. Centres of Meeks and Magnay, with Corabetti, Kellaway, and Haylett Petty in the back three. Rangi or Smith on the bench for the front row. Collenberg, Cotterill, Lioto, Lamani, and English are round up the bench. But missing Matt Tamua, missing big long kick guy, gone blank. Missing Matt Tamua is definitely going to be the biggest. It would be my biggest concern for this team.
Yeah, I think you're right. They haven't started the season too well. They leak a few points, which is a concern, and they're coming up against the Sharks, a Sharks team that will be looking to bounce back. I must admit, haven't seen the Sharks lineup just yet. It's just basically looking through all the networks, so I haven't managed to find their team. But
they've not been announced yet. But one of the things we do know is, I've taken myself off screen. One of the things that we do know is that they had a bunch of players, late changes last weekend. They're not going to be at full strength. They've had to send players back to South Africa, unfortunately. So, they are dealing with injuries. I mean, like most teams are, let's be honest.
Oh, very, very much so. This would be a surprise if the Rebels got up. I mean, to say, the Australian rugby at this stage, Paul, probably needs a victory of sorts, or just to get the confidence going, or at least to get the supporters engaged. They probably thought that win was coming with the Brumbies last week, but unfortunately it was taken away from them in extra time. So, gee, I don't know. I still think even the Sharks with all the injuries might be too strong here, Paul.
Yeah, I've gone Sharks by 5. I can't see the victory coming there. The next opportunity Australian sides have comes on Saturday evening, the 7:05 kickoff. Remember, folks, that the evening kickoffs are half an hour earlier. Don't get caught out by that. I'll be live straight after the Crusaders versus the Highlanders and this game, the Chiefs versus the Brumbies. So don't forget, hit subscribe and that bell down below. But yes, Chiefs versus Brumbies is the next chance next opportunity for Australia to get that overseas win. Looking at the Chiefs side then, Ross, Slater, Molly, Allardyce Brown, Luke Jacobson back from concussion will be a big addition for them. Sam Cane at 7 and Swakaula at 8. Triple T at 9 with Cruden. Then we've got Nankivell and Leonard Brown in the centres. McNichol, Wainui and Damon McKenzie are your back 3. Off the bench, Samasoni, Tuakalayo, O'Neill, Glendon Heights, Arcoy, Karpik, Milo Harris with his opportunities for having his Super Rugby debut, Trask and Tapia round out that bench. A much more balanced, loose trio for the Chiefs this weekend.
Oh, very, very much so, and how good that you can rest probably the forward of Super Rugby thus far in 2020 in terms of Lachlan Boshier. They've got the luxury of being able to rest Boshier, Ardron in the forward pack. That's not too bad, and of course Malo, who hasn't been too bad in that back line as well. They rest him and they bring out Sam McNichol, who's returning from long injury, but we all know he's a player with a ton of pace. He's a very, very quick player, and that's the beauty of when you have wins, you gain confidence, and all of a sudden your coaching staff is actually able to legitimately rest people, Paul, as opposed to serving, having to basically rest guys because of the All Black protocol. And it's got to be a good thing. But I think this is a great thing for the Chiefs. They've had when it comes to injuries, they know all about it. The last 3 or 4 seasons, I really don't know how they've managed to stitch teams together.
And the flack that Gatland's taken in the press is totally undeserved. People say, "Oh, look, resting it's cheating the fans again." Not just resting All Blacks, resting all sorts of players. It's like, guys, it's a squad game. Look at the number, as you say. Look at the number of injuries the Chiefs have had in previous seasons because of overplaying players. He's doing the right thing, and it's just the media looking for a negative spin on stuff which is just out of order. So yes, looking forward to this. Clearly, 2 things are going to be massively important for this Chiefs team. 1, discipline. If you allow this Brumbies team to kick the corner, they're going to score more every tries. Secondly, is that maul defence, because that's going to be 2, and that's probably why we've got Swakula in there and Jacobson is to add a bit more grunt to that maul defence. Looking at that Brumbies team, then Slipper, McKerney, Alatoa, Neville and Douglas in the engine room. Valentini, Miller and Samu are the loosies. Powell and Oliesio will be running things. Simone and Kurandrani in the centres, with Muirhead, Kata and Banks in the back 3. So look, a pretty settled side for them. And considering they've had the mumps outbreak, it's good to see them manage to do that. Off your bench, Longeran for his debut, Seo and Tom Ross, Nick Frost, McCafferty, Longeran, Kwenzi and Tony Pulu in there. No Marky Mark, unfortunately, who obviously got that concussion, so it's good to see him being rested, actually, the young player. It's good to see that. But Simone coming back to help out Loliasio. I think having that playmaker outside the young fly half has been a good combination. Yeah,
this youngster's impressed me, and he'll only get better. And once him and Pell, strike up that conversation, get used to each other's play. They've got to understand what their strengths are, and their strength is that pack. And I think sort of playing playing into certain positions on the park is really the Brumbies' gig, really and truthfully. They probably should have won that game against the Highlanders, just didn't really know how to close it out at the end of the day. In fact, I actually thought they probably tucked it up the sleeve a little bit too early, because once again, there was a turnover, and unfortunately they gave the Highlanders that opportunity. They will have to be at their very, very best to cause an upset against a Chiefs team that's absolutely full of confidence. And when you're full of confidence, the guys who come into the squad or into the playing 15 will know that the guys in front of them that have been rested are playing so well at the minute that they have to keep their standard high.
Absolutely. I mean, and the other thing is this Chiefs side, they're not blowing teams away, but they're definitely winning, and they're coming back, and they come back from half-time deficits twice this season shows that breeds confidence. You can win from any position, and yeah, I can't see anything other than a Chiefs win here, and it going 0-8 for Australian sides against the overseas.
Yeah, I'm going to go 12 and over, Paul. Unfortunately for the Brumbies, and you got somebody like Damien McKenzie, who's been out of rugby a long time, but he just looks full of running, doesn't he? He really does.
Yeah, I've gone Chiefs by 10. By the way, folks, predictions have been up since Monday on DrivingMaul.com, so you can always go over there and see predictions for Super Rugby, the Guinness Premiership, Six Nations, Pro 14, Top 14, Major League Rugby. It's all there, so do check out DrivingMaul.com. We then head over to Queensland for the next one, Reds versus Sunwolves. Is this the final game where they can, where we'll see an Australian win over overseas opposition? So the Reds are Smith, Maffey, Tupu, Isaac Rodder, Blythe, Slaka Lotto, Liam Wright will be captaining the side, and Harry Wilson are the Lucies. McDermott and James O'Connor. James O'Connor again in that 10 jersey, running things with Hamish Stewart and Payasami in the centres. Spate, Filial Setu, and Satia, and Campbell are your Lucies. Craig, potential Super Rugby debut off the bench with Hooper, Nasser, Hockings, McWright, Malaulu, Lucas, and Haggerty. So again, they're going for a 6-2 bench. But really, the news out of is who's not playing rather than who is, with Pataya getting a season-ending injury. It was really sad to see.
Yeah, very much so. I've read that story. It's very sad. He's quite a talent. I mean, I think back to his debut against Highlanders in 2019. Looked really good. By the end of the year, he pretty much posted himself into the Australian national side. We know he's got a lot of talent. He's a huge loss. But on saying that, I think the Reds at times they've looked capable. If they look back to their trip to the Republic, they've had opportunities. Something that they're going to have to sort out, though, Paul, is the yellow cards that they've been getting. It's proved costly in a couple of games for the Reds, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, absolutely. They'll be happy that they've got their overseas tour out the way, which is good for them. But they'll be unhappy that they've not got a win yet, which is going to be the big thing for them. So this is a massive game for them. Look, the Sunwolves we have seen are playing some really attractive rugby at the moment. So this is no gimme by any stretch of the imagination. I've not seen a list, but here's who's Rich Freeman on Twitter has said it is playing Ease, Bregovides and Van Vuren in the front row. Thomas and Stolberg, your locks. Yoshida, Jacobson and Shorts in the back row. Sayato and April are going to be running things with Teo and Engelbrecht in the centres. Dargaville, Fafita and Jackson Hope are the back three. Off the bench, we've got Maafu, Mayhew, Van Wyck, Yatabi, Topu, Page, Moriah and Nakano. So Teo seems to have done more for the Sunwolves than he did for 2 seasons or 3 seasons with Western Warriors. He's playing some real nice rugby up in Japan.
Yeah, he's going very well. They've got a couple of big lads for Fita out on the wing, and even James Dargable are very, very, very big backs. And of course, all being orchestrated by Garth April at first five. I was just sort of thinking before, if the Reds are going to be ill-disciplined, Garth April is the sort of goal kicker that can keep the points ticking over from anywhere on the field. And then they're pretty tidy. Good to see Mitch Jacobson on the side of the scrum, a returning hometown from Michael Stolberg, who's played for Queensland before. So they're not the worst, Paul. They kind of look like the United Nations on paper, but on saying that, you wouldn't want to take them for granted. They have got points in them. The problem for the Sunwolves is the amount of points that they do leak.
Yes, okay. So what we've got here with this team is, as you say, a team that's come together from many different places at short notice, and who have been given license to play. And that's what you've got to do, really, if you're in that situation. And you can see the players are loving it. There's none of this. You have to play by these set moves. No, there's none of that at all. It's going, guys, play what's in front of you, enjoy it. Here's a bit of structure to work around, but express yourselves and enjoy. You're not going to be hauled over the coals if you try something and it goes wrong. And you can see that culture and that enjoyment is there. The reviewer gives us a fantastic stat. Apparently, someone said the best line-out percentage in the tournament, which is for a team that's been together, only got together 2 weeks before the season. That is a fantastic result, because the line-out is one of the more complicated sections of the game, and you see teams will practice line-outs at every single training session without fail.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's for the little amount of time they've had, that's a fantastic result for them.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if somebody like Michael Stolberg is 100% on line-out receives. He's a very, very big man. I know he spent a couple of seasons up in Northland as a youngster. He's former Australian secondary schools lock, and I think he played 20s for Australia. So at 6'8", very, very big target.
So yeah, so I'm actually backing the Sunwolves to win this one by 3. Which way are you leaning?
I'm going to go for the home side. I think the Reds are. I just think they're due. They were quite unlucky in the very 2 first games that they played, Paul. And I just think they're due. They were well beaten by the Hagawaris in their last game, but they have got points in them. They've been scoring points. I think on average probably around about 25 points a game.
Okay, so this one could be one of the highest scoring games actually of the round, because of like you say, the Sunwolves have got points in them, but the defence isn't great. The Reds again have points in them. So that one. So whilst not many people would pick that as a game to watch, I'm going to suggest that'll be for the neutral a fun game to watch. Don't get too hung up on mistakes by the players though. Next up, we head over to South Africa, and we don't have seen this yet for the Stormers, but the Stormers' first 2 weekends clean sheets. Then they play an amazing 30-33 game against the Lions. Is this a defensive team or is this an attacking team by the Stormers?
Oh, I suppose it probably points to the fact that the Lions are probably not quite where they need to be. But this would be a good challenge for the Stormers against the Hagawaris.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So the chief reckons that the Reds versus the Sunwolves could be a draw. It could be, but we don't like sitting on the bench on this show.
No.
So looking at Paul Tate's Twitter account, he has listed what the Hagawaris training formation is, and he's a great source. So at Argentina_2027 is his Twitter handle, but he always posts out what the training setup is, and it's pretty similar to what the Hagawaris run out with normally. So Chaparro, Socino, Madrano in the front row, Alemano and Paulos in the engine room, Gorison, Desio, Lozana, Lucy's, Cabelli and Miotti will be running things. Milia and Chico Barres are the centres, with Cancelleri, Delgi and Boffelli in the Lucy's. I mean, one of the things we know is that this team has got the backs to cut teams to pieces, but we also saw last weekend with their, 3 or 4 mauls, line-out maul tries against the Reds, that, hey, the forwards can get messy when they need to.
It does. Paul, just before I touch on that, I'll just go back one moment, and one of your one of the guys who's watching the show mentioned that the Red Sunwolf games could be a draw. It's paying $34 at the New Zealand TAB, and the Sunwolves are paying $6, and the Reds are at $1.12. So TAB have the Reds as the favourites, but boy, that $34, that'd be a good pickup.
That's strong favourites. I mean, the Sunwolves out at $6 after this season. I think that is. I think that's really pretty harsh on the Sunwolves.
Just in terms of the Hagawari Stormers game, well, here's another interesting one, a real opportunity once again. Hagawari is paying $3.40, and the Stormers at $1.35 to draw at $23. I don't think it'll be a draw.
I don't think it'll be a draw, and especially look, the Hagawaris just don't travel well. They've never beaten the Stormers in South Africa. The Stormers are 3-0. To me, this is a Stormers win. I think they'll suffocate the Hagawaris and they'll put on enough points themselves. Look, they scored 33 points last weekend. The Stormers have shown they can score points. So yeah, I think at home, this is a Stormers win for me.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go the Hagawaris, and I think they'll win by 12 plus.
Wow, I've gone for Stormers by 5. To finish the round off, we've got the Vodacom Bulls versus the Blues. Again, I've not seen lineups for this one unless actually I didn't check the Blues. I just assumed they weren't out already. To be honest,
I have got a lineup here from the for the
for the Bulls we do
for the Bulls. Yes, they've got Gallant at fullback, Hendricks, Kutsia, Odendaal, Speckman, and Mornay Stone Van Zyl is the back division. So bit of pace at the back, especially we know what an attacking fullback Galanta is. We go into the pack, the loose forward trio of Strauss, Vosloo, and Rudolph. The locks are, of course, Kruger and Ferreira. Now, I'm just wondering if Ferreira was the guy who was supposedly going to be signed by the Hurricanes a couple of seasons back, but didn't end up fronting up because of injury. Trevor Nakanye, Visaki, and Gobaka makes up the Bulls team. We look at the rest of the reserves. Out in the backs, we've got Rousseau, Lebok, Piper, Steinkamp, Norgay, Herbst, Steinkamp, and Else pretty much make up the Bulls reserves. So they've got their side out nice and early, Paul.
They do, and it's. Look, guys, you're trying to. We've got falling crowds, we've got falling viewership. Get your teams out there so that people like ourselves can talk about what's going to happen this weekend. Create a bit of noise around the games. Stop this kind of we don't want to give the opposition anything, guys. If no one's watching, it doesn't matter, right? You've got to get people watching. So the for me, the Bulls haven't been impressive. Are clearly in a transition season, but and you've got a question mark of, does Mornay Stain really match the current way that the rest of the team is kind of set up? He just boots too much. Let's be honest, and never takes the ball to the line, and that really is strangling this team's creativity. They're up against the Blues team, and the Blues team haven't won in South Africa twice this century against the Bulls. 2013 and 2003 and 2012, I think it was. Anyway, from memory, actually, I even typed it out. Yeah, 2012 and 2003. There we go. Are the two times that the Blues have beaten the Bulls in South Africa. It's like hen's teeth. So I am backing the home side here at altitude.
Yeah, you'd probably think in the case of the Blues, they'd never really get a better opportunity than right here, right now. If you look at this Bulls team, especially through the pack, there's not a lot of names that really come to mind. They haven't really performed, so maybe they're a team down on confidence as well. So there is the opportunity. Probably both some good and bad news for the Blues. They've had to travel to South Africa without Josh Goodhue, picked up a knee injury in the game against the Crusaders, but they have got Rico Ioane, who's travelled with the squad to South Africa. So whether he plays, we'll just have to wait and see.
So good news and bad news. So which way are you going to go then? I say I've gone Bulls by 3. What's your call for this one?
Oh, out of stupid, brainless loyalty, I'm gonna pick the Blues to win this game because I can't. They've got another tough challenge next week against, I think they play the Sharks.
Stormers next week.
It's the Stormers they play next week, and that's not going to be easy either. So to me, it's really important that they do pick up the win to stay in the hunt or stay close.
No, yeah, absolutely. And the Stormers could easily be 5-0 with the Blues next weekend, as has been mentioned in the chat by the reviewer. The Lions, the Hurricanes, and the Waratahs have buys this week. For the Hurricanes, I mean, they'll be happy for the break because they've had all that travel to South Africa and Argentina in the first couple of rounds, so I think they're going to like that break. For the Lions, the Lions and Waratahs, they both need the break for a different reason. They've both started. I think they're both 3-0, or maybe. Sorry, no, the Lions got one win, but those two teams really really not playing well and need a week of the coaches to try and sort them out. I think so. Those are the sides that are having the bye this week. As I say, join me straight after the Crusaders versus the Highlanders, and also the Chiefs versus Brumbies. Probably also there's a good chance that we'll be talking after the Rebels versus the Sharks, because I've got John O'Connor is coming over early Saturday to watch that game with me. Obviously with his beloved Sharks, if they get the win, I'm pretty sure he'll force me on so he can have a nice good gloat. So do join us for those shows as well. Also, I've got Squidge Rugby on the channel for the after the Italy-Scotland game. I've got Jed from the Attacking Scrum podcast, the Welsh podcast, for the Welsh game. I've got who are they playing? Wales-France game. And then I've also got Ross from the More Over podcast from England for the England-Ireland game. So I've got some good guests for post-match reactions to the Six Nations games as well. So hit the subscribe and the bell. If you want to have a chat with myself or Stephen, our Twitter handles are on the screen. I'm at DrivingMaul. Stephen is Stephen73_H. That catchy
Twitter handle.
Yeah. Brand you've got there, Stephen. Thank you very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure to go through the games again.
No, been absolutely fantastic. Just before we do go, I heard former South African referee, was it maybe Andre Watson? I'm just thinking who's the other the referee that retired a few seasons ago, and they talked to him a little bit, but he was talking a little bit about the report that Green and Gold Rugby put out. I'm not too sure if you may have spoken about it during the week, Paul.
I wasn't sure how accurate it was. So it's one that I did keep quiet about. Yeah. So plus 152 or something was the penalty count towards South African sides playing at home. Yeah,
it might be a good one. That we might need a whole hour to talk about that one. But it was interesting listening to this not recently retired official. I think he might have retired about 10 years ago. I don't think it's Andre Watson. If I can see the picture of the guy's face, but it's just gone out of my head at the moment. But he said he had a situation where he refereed the Waratahs in several games, and he was frustrated by getting that appointment all the time, because he said, listen, they were basically always doing a lot of infractions, but unfortunately the penalty count always became very, 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 very lopsided, Paul. So even he was questioning whether he should be refereeing that particular side, and he'd even talked to them beforehand, about the previous infractions that they'd have at game to try and iron it out of the game. So you kind of do wonder sometimes, maybe talking to the teams all the time as they subconsciously do the same infractions, Paul.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, another thing also, look, the referees need to be looked after by the authorities. If they see a trend happening, then there are some that you switch it up, not so much because it's the fault of the referee, but just so you can show it's not him. When the next guy comes in and does the exact same thing, because it's not statistically there's not a big enough sample size for it to be properly statistical. But that's I think the referees need a bit more protection by the authorities sometimes, a bit more sympathetic with the way they allocate the games. So yes, looking forward to all the rugby this weekend. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Stephen, and everyone in the live chat. It's always great to have you there. By the way, if you missed this show and think, hey, you know what, how can I catch up on it? one of the ways is it's on a podcast, so you can listen to it on the way to work on a Friday morning if you want to. So thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rugby this weekend.